Let's go. Torah Or, come on, let's go. This is a good, because that's the Maimon. We learn it every year. Torah Or, page 26, Vayera. It's the only Maimon of Vayera. Patach Eliyahu, v'amad, and he says, Antu chad v'lei b'chushban, you are one, but not in reckoning. Antu dapika sasa tikunin, you are the one that brought out. By the way, Patach Eliyahu is part of Tikkun Zohar, which is Patach Eliyahu is part of what's called Tikkun Zohar. It's part of Zohar. So Eliyahu Navi said like this: Antu chavlei b'chushban, you are one about Hashem, right? You are one not reckoned. Antu dapika sasa tikunin, you bring out the 10 tikunim, and you call them 10 spheres. So he says, Lahavin inyan zeh lama nikriyot spheres b'shem tikunim. Why are the 10 spheres called tikunim? In Zohar over here, they're calling him. You bring out 10 tikunim, and you call them Esser spheres. So why are the Esser spheres called tikkun? Tikkun means like to fix. I mean, like what does it have to do with fixing? In order to understand this, we need to understand what the essence of the nefesh is. What? In the Zohar, in Gemara, you rarely have Patach. In the Zohar, it's full of Patach Rabbi Yehuda, Patach Rabbi Yosef, Patach whatever. So Chassidus explains, Patach means they opened up the channel for everybody else. They brought down those Giluyim, and therefore Zohar is full of Patach Eliyahu, Patach Rabbi Shimon, Patach Rabbi Yosef, all the gang, Rashbi's gang. So Patach means actually they opened up, that's how the Rebbe explains it. They opened up the channel for the Giluyim, which allows everybody to get in there. So he says, we need to understand the essence of the nefesh. The nefesh itself. He pasha, one simplistic power, beli his chalkas seichel amidas, without a division of seichel amidas. Now he's speaking different than he does in Tanya, and he's going to explain why in Tanya he says differently. But the Alter Rebbe is saying over here, the nefesh is one simplistic power. It has seichel and midas, but it's not composed of seichel and midas. The nefesh itself is not composed. It's one simplistic level called neshama, power. Right. So he says, "Va'midas va'seich va'midas shelo hem bechinas levushim lanefesh." They are only the garments of the soul. Shanefesh yashlo seichel amidas. The nefesh has seichel amidas. How does the nefesh manifest itself? Through its seichel amidas. Aval eina muhus v'atmis nefesh. It's not the essence of the nefesh. And right away, the Alter Rebbe in the parenthesis, or whoever it is, says, "Mashakos b'Tanya." Locher in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says the opposite. In Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says seichel amidas is the nefesh. The garments of the nefesh are thought, speech, and action. Here the Alter Rebbe is saying that the nefesh itself is above everything. The garments of the nefesh is seichel amidas. Locher the contradicts Tanya. Mashakos b'Tanya shanefesh atmis chalekas seichel amidas, which were called atmis and nefesh. So he says, Ein ze'ela lagabe machshava dibur ma'aseh. He says, what Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that intellect and midas, seichel and midas, are the essence of the neshama that's only in comparison to the thought, speech, and action. In compared to thought, speech, and action, seichel and midas is the essence of the nefesh. But when you're speaking in the nefesh itself, seichel and midas are not what composes the nefesh. The nefesh is not composed of seichel and midas. The nefesh is one essence. How does that essence reveal itself? Into seichel, through midas. Again, the mashal that we always give in a gashmistic mashal is a battery, right? A battery is one simplistic power. You put it into a flashlight, it makes the light go on. You put it into a walking toy, it is going to walk. You put it into this, it's going to talk. You put it into this. That doesn't mean that the battery itself is composed of light and talking and walking and all the other million things. It's one simplistic power. when you put it into a certain toy, let's say, so then the power of the battery reveals itself based on the vessel. But it's not that the battery itself is composed of talking and walking and lights and all that. It doesn't work like that. It's not all similar to the nefesh, but at least we can understand that concept by a nefesh. The nefesh itself is one simplistic, essential essence. How does that essence manifest itself and reveal itself? Through seichel and midas. Alagab machshava dibur u'maisa, she'en levushim nifrodim mamish musa nefesh, which are the level of biyah, bria, yitzir, nasiya. Like we learned in Chassidus, thought, speech, and action is bria, yitzira, and asiya. Thought is bria, speech is yitzira, action is asiya. Shaydei za'emer levushim tkinas lein de'inum biyah. But aseichel amidas, but when it comes to seichel amidas, im yeshem chinas levushim, even though they're garments, they're not levushim because seichel amidas of the neshama is an atzilus. But the neshama itself is above atzilus. The garments of nefesh, ruach, and neshama, of machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh, that's in thought, speech, and action. That's in biyah, in bria, yitzir, and asiya. The nefesh itself is not. The einam levushin elu b'chinas kelim atzilus. The il v'gamoy echad, that the earth and the keli, it's all the same. Therefore, compared to machshava, dibur, and ma'aseh, they're called essence. But compared to the nefesh itself, it's not the essence. It's only the way the nefesh reveals itself. So why are they called tikkunim? Elo shem nekroim b'shem tikkunim. Why are they called tikkunim? Tikkun again means to fix. Why are they called tikkunim? Shanefesh metakenes umislabeshes b'hem. Because the neshama gets fixed, so to speak, and able to function with it. In other words, how does the nefesh function? Through seichel midas. So it completes the functioning of the nefesh, but it's not the nefesh.
Is it nefesh or is it neshama?
Here we're talking about the same thing. Nefesh. Neshama. Same thing. Yeah.
But when you have prati, you have prati or you have prati?
Right. We're talking generally speaking. That's what it is. Right. Okay. Where do you see that a levush is called a tikkun? So he says, like Targum Uncle says on the pasuk, a man is not allowed to wear a woman's garment. It says, lo yetakin gever betukuni itza. Again, it's talking about dressing clothes. He said you shouldn't fix yourself with the fixings of a woman. So you see that levushim are called tikkun. Ve'in tikkun. What is the in a tikkun? Milosh and tachshit, from like a piece of an ornament. Shamiskashet by a person dresses, gets dressed up with, or mispal mimana, and becomes affected by it, and you become one with the piece of jewelry, kihilu migufi mamish, as if it's part of you. Meaning like this: when a woman puts on jewelry, she beautifies herself with the jewelry, and it becomes like one thing with her. But she's not the jewelry. The jewelry is not her. The woman is revealing her beauty, so to speak, through the jewelry. And it becomes one with her. It's mamish on her body.
Enhances her.
That's very good. Enhances her. Even though the body, generally speaking, is the garment of the soul, meaning how does the soul function? Only through the body. The nefesh becomes affected by the happenings of the body, because when the body bends its finger, the nefesh feels it. So in other words, like this, the nefesh comes into the body and functions. The nefesh and the body become one, even though the body is not the nefesh. But they become one to the extent that the body affects the nefesh. When the finger bangs itself, the nefesh feels the pain. Dead people don't feel pain. So the nefesh feels the pain. So they become one. The nefesh is functioning through the body, but it's not the body.
The pain is physical, it's not spiritual. How does the nefesh feel?
How does the nefesh see? How does the nefesh smell? The nefesh, it does. The nefesh, the power of sight that the nefesh has, when it comes into the eye, is able to see. The eye, that eye doesn't see.
But the body has that.
Yeah, but what's the functioning of the eye? The functioning of the eye is through the nefesh, not through the guf. The nefesh must function in a physical world through the body. You have a nefesh, you can't see with that nefesh. You can't walk with that nefesh. So that's, but what uniqueness is it becomes one with the body, but it's not the body. The body doesn't make up the nefesh. The Alter Rebbe says seichel comes in. The neshama comes into seichel amidas. It functions with it. It becomes one with it. But it's not. It's not it.
It's a garment.
Correct. But there's a difference between a garment of jewelry and a garment of clothing. The jewelry becomes more one with the person than the garment does.
Why is that?
Because it's mamish functioning on you, it's beautifying the body by itself. This, it also enters the will of the nefesh. When the nefesh wants to move the hand, right? So the hand moves instantaneously. Nishma take of miyad. The second your nefesh wants to move the hand moves, or the foot. In other words, if you think about it, the nefesh wants to move, so it should go through a process. Like in Washington, it should go through different meetings and different things. So it should go into the seichel, and then into the midas, and then into the machshava, and then about 20 minutes later you'll move. Instantaneously, when you want to do something, it's going to move. Why? Because the nefesh and the guf are mamish one. And he says, she'im came, because if that's the way it would function as separate entities, there would be a delayed time. Right? So therefore, he's giving a mashal of the nefesh and the guf. When the nefesh functions in the body, the second the nefesh wants it to happen, immediately happens. So therefore, the nefesh and the guf are actually one. But again, the body is not the nefesh. It's only because the body becomes one with the nefesh. And therefore the nefesh functions in the body the way the nefesh wants to function, as if it's one entity. Even though the body is only the garment of the soul, the body is not the soul. So the Alter Rebbe is going to explain like this, with this analogy of the nefesh in the body, that the nefesh functions in the guf, not because the guf is a nefesh, but because the nefesh and the guf become one. So the same thing with nefesh and seichel and midas. It's not that the seichel and midas are the nefesh. The nefesh becomes one with seichel and midas, more than with the garments of thought, speech, and action, and therefore they function immediately. But it's not mohus the nefesh, it's not the seichel and midas. I in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe said, this is what the Rebbe said. I in Tanya, the Alter Rebbe says that seichel midas are the Shemper Gimel. He says the nefesh is seichel midas. So he says compared to machshava dibur ma'aseh, it's the essence of the nefesh because it becomes one with it. But in reality, seichel midas are not the nefesh. The seichel midas are limited. There's chokhmah and bina and das and chesed. There's 10 levels. The nefesh doesn't have 10 levels. The nefesh is not composed of a seichel compartment, and the physical brain, by the way, has different compartments. But the nefesh doesn't have these compartments in it. the nefesh is one simplistic thing. It becomes mamish one with the guf, so therefore it functions accordingly in the guf.
Indeed, brain has different departments, totally different.
I said that. I just said that. But the nefesh doesn't. That's the physical brain. The nefesh is not. No, yeah, the nefesh is not composed of. It's not departmental. You know, it's not composed of different things.
The physical brain is it's in between nefesh and in between nefesh.
Now, the Rebbe says in Tanya that the nefesh reveals itself primarily in the head, and then from the head it goes to the rest of the body.
Right.
So in that respect, the head is the intermediary between the nefesh and the rest of the body. But that's only because the nefesh becomes misachedes, the nefesh becomes one, first of all in the head.
Not the arm.
No.
Where you put the
Seichel.
battery in.
What?
Where you put the battery in.
Yeah.
Rabbi, it's a little bit different with the battery.
I didn't say, I said clearly it's not a mashal, but just to understand it a little bit.
Yeah, but I want to understand, see if my understanding is correct. So the battery moves the feet or hand at the same time, but you told us on Shabbos, the nefesh of hand is different than nefesh of foot.
Nefesh of hand is different than nefesh of foot.
The power of nefesh that goes to the hand is totally different with the power that goes to the hand.
Once it goes into the hand and into the foot, it's now functioning in that limb according to that limb.
So is that one energy that no matter where it goes, it functions according to the hardware? Or it is different?
Okay. For now, generally speaking, it's the same one.
Generally,
Yeah, that's true.
at least a bit different.
No, because in I remember when we learned Sheshem Esatfil by Rabbi Yochanan. We were in high school then. So over there, the Tzemach Tzedek explains the 10 spheres of Atzilis are like water coming into different color glasses. We discussed this, yeah, in different color glasses. So the water is colorless, but when you look outside the red glass, it looks red and green and yellow, right? But the water is, and therefore the Tzemach Tzedek says the expression like this. Therefore, we can understand what it says, Achlifu duchtayu, that the kelim change. It could be Ur HaChesed b'Klei HaGvura. The Ur of Chesed can come into the Klei HaGvura.
Meaning the clay doesn't change.
Right? Therefore, because the art is the same, so therefore it comes Ur HaChesed b'Klei HaGvura. Okay, so he's teaching us, and then we're quiet, then we're listening. Or it says, like he screamed at us, why aren't you asking a question? He said, if it's colorless water, why is it called Ur HaChesed b'Klei HaGvura? Then it's not Ur HaChesed. It's colorless water going into Chesed. You can't say it's Chesed water going into Gvura because the water is colorless, you're saying. So how could it be called Ur HaChesed?
Or Pasha, should say or.
Yes, how can you call Ur HaChesed b'Klei HaGvura? So he screamed at us. Why not? But,
What's the answer?
he didn't explain it to us that we were kids. But basically, what he started explaining is the or that, I don't know what it means, but the or that comes into Chesed is taka connected to Chesed.
It's or Hashayich, it's
Even though it's Pashut, it's still connected. That's why this or comes into Chesed and this or comes into Gvura. In other words, why does this power of the neshama go into the eye and this power of the neshama goes into the mouth? Because it is somehow, I don't know. That's all I'm telling you. I don't know anything more than that. Speak to the mashpiyim, the maskilim. What?
This is the first time we touched this.
First time, I know. But we're advancing.
Ultimately, it's colorless. Ultimately, is all of it. But when it comes into the cup that is blue.
Isn't the brain
In other words, when the battery comes into a flashlight, does the battery now become connected to a flashlight?
Matter to matter is energy.
Okay, you came late, I mean.
Hashem knows which part of the battery energy is going to the light.
The battery.
Yeah, okay, but I'm saying, but it's a very refined, it's not really Ur Chesed.
Right.
It's Ur Chesed because it's connected that it comes into the Keli. The Ur itself is simplistic. The fact, though, that it comes into that Keli shows there is some type of a connection, and therefore it's called Ur Chesed, but it's not really Ur Chesed.
In that moment, discuss it.
Okay. Weiter. And so we'll understand in the concept of Seichel Midas of the Nefesh, again, it's not the Nefesh, it's not the essence of the Nefesh, it has nothing to do with the Nefesh. It is the garment, Shanefesh Mitakenes Mistabeshet Bahem, how the Neshama, so to speak, becomes fixed, meaning functions. And dresses vein klei hanefesh. They're the vessels of the vessels of the nefesh. Shebahen val yodem pe'elis hanefesh. That's how the nefesh functions. Kegardim b'yad hachetziv, like the chopper. How does a guy chop wood? The guy is chopping the wood, but how does he chop the wood? With an axe. But the axe is not the person. The axe is not the person. The person is functioning through the axe. The seichel is not the nefesh. The nefesh is functioning through seichel. But it's not the nefesh in any way whatsoever. So he says, love midas av, that you person should be able to love with the midah of ava, and to have seichel with the level of chochmah. Shekol zel creates anything similar to this, hurak bo'ulas ha-nefesh, is only the functioning of the nefesh, vis pashtusa, and its manifestation, she'ein al mimenu luzulasa. In other words, how does the neshama function in the body is by going through seichel or ava. Ava nefesh mitzad atzma ilaman mekol b'chinas halol. The nefesh is much greater than that.
Is the brain nefesh, or is it the...
No, a brain is a component of the body. It's a limited thing. A brain is not the heart.
Is goof?
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Right, but it's a vessel that has...
It's a vessel that the nefesh becomes one with the function. When the chopper chops with the axe and the person become one.
Yes.
But the axe is not the person. He functions through the axe. The nefesh functions through seichel and midas. But the seichel and midas are not the person. Not the nefesh.
I'm trying to differentiate brain,
Intermediate.
seichel, and midas.
Brain is the vessel for seichel. The heart is the vessel for midas.
If it's a vessel, it's a goof.
Yeah, relatively speaking. It is the goof, by the way. The heart is a goof, and the seichel, the brain is a goof.
And it produces seichel and midas.
When the or and the keli unite. The nefesh cannot produce seichel in a person without a body.
What about animals?
Animals.
Instinct.
So they don't have seichel of choice. They have seichel of instinct. Atchen lodun das, that a person has das to choose good and bad. Only humans have that.
So they have the vessel,
They have a brain.
but their vessel doesn't produce...
Sometimes their brain is better than human brains. What?
But their brain doesn't produce that the level of seichel and midas.
Correct. No, their midas are stronger than ours. Because they don't have seichel to cool it down. Okay, let's go. Because in the proof of it is like this. The nefesh never changes. The nefesh never ages. The bad seichel and midas age. Meaning, when you're a little kid, You have immature seichel, and you have immature midas. You become more mature, so it changes. The nefesh doesn't change. See, if seichel and midas would be the nefesh, you wouldn't be able to change. Because the essence doesn't change. Etzem built in nishtana. The essence can't change, and the neshama never gets old. Old is a physical phenomenon that doesn't happen in ruchnius. Ruchnius doesn't age.
Growth,
What?
growth, something.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it ages.
So the neshama that goes after 120 years is the same neshama that came in.
No, because the Torah mitzvahs, it was elevated to a higher place than before. So it's a higher neshama. Isn't that what happens? You did Tzarech Aliyah? So now the neshama is greater than it was before the last time? No.